Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and on the other mic, of course, in this new year is Mr. Nate Newton. Nate, how are you, sir?
Well, glad to be in the new year. Last one was a stellar one. So
It was exciting.
yeah, it was the year of tears, man.
Well, as our tradition would have it, 'cause I'm not a very traditional individual, but as our tradition would have it, you and I have sat down over the last 3 years and kind of recapped the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to do tonight. And I was scrolling through this year's podcast episodes, just trying to man, where were we last year? What conversations were we having? What topics were we talking about? And what a variety
Right.
last year.
I mean, we were all over the place. Sorry, I caught a little something over the New Year.
Burn your
there.
microphone when you're done.
But yeah, I mean, we went through a lot of changes this year, between the businesses and personal life and friendships and all that other shit. Like, a lot of shit changed this year, and for the better, it's definitely, it's led, I know personally myself, to like a clean slate on a personal scale. And then, I mean, the business fucking crushed it this year. We hit a lot of really good numbers, and we're really proud of that. But there was a lot of shit that had to be changed in order for us to do that. And, we brought a couple more people on the team. We moved in some different markets, really started targeting markets instead of just doing whatever came to us. And I think that was a big game changer for our operations, because it gave us some sense of normalcy, instead of just bouncing from custom homes to large scale commercial to trailer repairs. Like, we have almost this kind of constant flow of certain things right now that's really it keeps everybody in the skill of what we're doing.
Right. I experienced something similar to that in the middle of the year. And one of the lessons that I learned from it was the seduction of success and how that can create complacency. And in the middle of the year, going through a divorce last year, I allowed myself to become distracted and overwhelmed by the situations that were going on, and neglected the growth of the business. And when I got into the fall, I started, there was nothing to reap because I hadn't sown anything. Right. So spring and summer, I did a really good job cultivating relationships, gathering clients. Things were taking off, and I took my foot off the throttle. Starting from a dead stop is a hell of a lot harder. Right. Than maneuvering. And that was something that I got to learn. Now, luckily, closing out the year, starting to gain that momentum back, and coming into this year, it's starting to ramp up pretty heavy, which is very exciting for me. But looking back, I was really shocked that I had allowed myself to do that. As the level of awareness that I feel that I have, I'm surprised that got by me.
Right. Well, I mean, dude, divorce wrecks you. Divorce sucks. It's not, there's nothing good about it, and it's, it's something that, you feel like it needs to be done. And when you make that decision, you stick to it. But it fucking sucks, and it wrecks you emotionally and mentally. And, especially I think that's the reason why we didn't have a dip in the business, was because that was the one thing that I was felt like I had any fucking control over. So that was the only thing that I held on to and focused on. Having a
partner and a team, right?
Yeah.
I think is a good contributor to that. I don't have that and didn't have that. And I did a really good job of kind of ghosting out, really isolating myself when I experienced that. And there were parts of that decision that were accurate and beneficial. And then there were parts of that decision that got me in trouble.
Right.
And, I can't really sit here and say, well, I think that this is the balance that you need to have. I don't know what that is. What I do know,
I know neither of us had it.
no, we didn't. And it's like, oh, looking back,
Mhm.
would I have handled it differently? I don't fucking know.
Right.
I handled it
If I knew what I
how
know
I handled
now,
it.
yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah.
maybe. But that was a very, very difficult thing to experience.
Mhm.
Because friendships at that level, losing friendships at that level,
Mhm.
the divorce, that was the hard part for me.
Mhm.
Right? It wasn't the fact of not being married anymore. It was the fact of that this was someone that had been a friend of mine for almost 20 years,
Mhm.
and just it's gone.
Yeah, you see somebody every day for 10 years or whatever, and then you're almost mourning their death. Like all communication gets severed. And it's like you still care about that person. Like you still love them, and it's not that it's not as easy. Even if it's something you want, it's not the easiest fucking thing to do.
One of the probably the greatest lessons from that experience was really being in tune with my own level of vulnerability, and me being me. And that's not something I had really experienced before. Was that level of vulnerability, and that was interesting. That was psychologically, emotionally, that was very interesting for me to get to experience that. At that level. The cool thing is the thing that I'm grateful for is it made me so much better.
Right. Yeah, there's advancement in it. And growth comes from pain, and suffering builds strong people. And that's, whether it's self-inflicted suffering or not, it's still suffering. And, it's the hardener of life, that's your like your quenching fluid pretty much.
Yep.
So, because I experienced the same thing, like it took a little bit to straighten myself out. I was doing dumb shit and going the wrong way about it, and finally getting my shit together. And I'm like, okay, I needed that part. Like,
yeah,
to have a little humility walking away from it.
Oh, I earned everything that I got to experience. I don't. There's no victim. I'm not a victim setting here. I earned everything that I got to experience. And having the opportunity to evaluate that just as an individual. And, you and I are talking about divorce because we both experienced it. We both experienced the loss of the dogs last year.
4 fucking dogs.
Yeah.
2 to death and 2 to divorce.
Right. And, we're sitting here talking about this specifically, but from a 10,000 foot view as an overall, shit happens. And how you choose to respond to it, I think, is what dictates your growth and progression forward. And I was given a tremendous opportunity to evaluate myself, my behavior, my actions, and my experiences and decisions. And that, I think, to me was like this moment of just amazing growth of emotional maturity. So it doesn't have to be divorce. It doesn't have to be, losing your dog. You're going to experience things in life that challenge you mentally, challenge you emotionally, challenge your maturity.
Right.
And having the opportunity, and I am grateful for the experiences that I had last year, because, man, I get to come out of the other end of that way better.
Yeah.
But not everybody gets that.
Right. Well, and I feel like we get tied up in the fuck ups that we have once we go through some shit like this, like we like to hammer down on ourselves like that. I got into this fucking place of just like straight up self-loathing, and I think pulling yourself out of that, when you can straighten yourself out from something like that and fucking be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, this ain't forward,
Right.
You brought it up to me the other day, you're like, it's dwelling on the past instead of the future. And I think that, I got caught up in that part of it, I got caught up in, what you should have should you have done this? Should you have done that? You know, like the ifs, ands, and buts. And then it's easy to hate yourself. And like there is hope on the other side of it, you know, like just because you're not handling it properly right now doesn't mean you can't fucking turn it around.
Yeah. The reason that this is part of our conversation tonight is because I want people to understand that experiencing and expressing those things is not weakness. Actually ignoring those things, I would find to be weakness.
Right.
Because the amount of strength that it takes to accept those things, to acknowledge those things, to evaluate those things, that takes a lot of strength. And I don't mean this in any egotistical way, but I'm a hard motherfucker. And last year really tested that.
Right.
And it really helped me understand like what real strength means, and having that real emotional strength, what that really means. And that's what I mean, like coming out of that and what we're talking about now, like you have to accept those things and you have to work to understand them and you have to work to make different and better decisions. That's what's going to allow you to grow. That's what's going to change your results. And getting wrapped up in that self-loathing and in that hamster wheel, in that narrative, right? That narrative gets on a loop. And if you're lucky enough where something just shakes your fucking world and makes you go, look, stupid, like if you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results.
Right.
And I was very fortunate to have that happen. So the reason I say that is because as men, emotionally responding to something or becoming vulnerable is often seen as weakness. And I gained a tremendously new perspective for understanding that throughout last year.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like I've always been a hard ass, you know, and it's like to get knocked down like this and just sit on my bed and bawl my fucking eyes out. I was just like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I don't do this, you know, like this isn't me. I don't do this. And then it happens night after night. And you're like, no, you do this, motherfucker. Right. Like, this is like, holy shit. Somebody finally tapped the fucking, spring on this fucking thing. And I do, because I could probably tell you in the prior 15 years of this year, I could probably count on one hand how many times I fucking squirted a tear out, and it was usually over a death of somebody or, a dog or something. And it was like just huddled in the corner and just fucking, wept a little bit and then fucking got on with my shit, But dude, this shit this was a whole different creature, and that like you said, that vulnerability comes out, and you're like, okay, let's reevaluate here. Like, what the fuck are we actually, And it's fucking eye opening, but I feel a lot better.
Same.
Same. I feel a lot better about it, and it's
starting over with nothing and having that clean slate. You and I were having a conversation per the norm before recording, and one of the things that I learned most was gratitude. I mean, really, really understanding what it is. Again, kind of back to the taboo topic of emotion and the guys like us and what we do. It's like, man, the level of gratitude that I get to experience now with having nothing is fucking unreal. Right.
Those couple of things you do have, you're just like, fuck yeah, I got this.
Yeah. And so that was a good, that was a great experience for me. Like I said, the emotional maturity that I gained is, man, it's just going to make me better for everyone, and including myself. What a great fucking tragic experience that has been,
Great tragedy. Yes. Exactly what that was.
Yeah. So as I was kind of flipping back through the podcast and stuff, and I was just kind of thinking about some of the most impactful conversations that you and I had. The Proud to be a Tradesman, that episode was one of our most downloaded, most shared.
Well, I mean, it's something we're severely lacking, right? I mean, that's
pride in the trades.
Pride in the trades. Yeah. Dude, we were up on a job. I'm not going to mention where it was, but we get up there and there's some snow, and Matt pulls up on site, and there's a different crew out there, you know, whatever trade they are, and dude, they got 40s stuck in the snow, either for lunch or for after work. And like our guys pull up, and they're in their, you know, all their gear and everything says Battleborn Welding on it, and they're like, dude, do you fucking see that? Like, why the fuck do they think that's okay? We're like, exactly. Maintain that fucking mentality, you know, like, because, dude, unfortunately, how commonplace that can become in the trades, you know, where people are like, oh, dude, well, we're just fucking shitbags. So, you know, whatever. I got my 40 in the snow. I want to make sure it's cold for when I get off work. Are you fucking serious?
And again, that's why.
Shouldn't even be in your fucking lunchbox.
That's right.
Yeah.
That, because that's the stigma, right? Is just that behavior. Just that accepted behavior, by the way, because the only reason it happens is because somewhere along the line it's been accepted. Right. So that level of accepted behavior, man.
Dude, because I remember when I first started pipelining, there were dudes that I didn't. Like, there was this excavator operator that was digging the trench and laying the pipe down in Sacramento. First job I ever ran, and it was a smaller, you know, public works job. But, you know, it's still a pipeline. It's a $2 million project. Right. But, dude, this old boy, I wouldn't get anywhere near him if I didn't see a fucking bottle of Jack in his lunchbox. Because, dude, if he didn't have any liquor on him, you know, he starts shaking and fucking everything get real erratic. And it's like, I'm sorry that you become that level of an alcoholic, but you can't operate without it. So, yeah, man, But that was one of these older dudes that was out of the 70s, you know, like, and that's what they did. And it was just like, I don't think that's what they did in its entirety, but this is one of those burnout dudes that never fucking made it any further than just running the hoe. And he just kind of propelled it worse and worse and worse as time went on, because this was early 2000s. So motherfucker had been at it for 30 years by that point. I'm like, how are you not dead? It's just knowing you have to get up into that machine every day keeps you alive. That's it. That's it. It gives you your only sense of purpose, you know? Yeah.
Sense of purpose. That is, I think a lot of that's missing, you know, a lot in the trades, and that, you know, that episode, that conversation we had of being proud to be a tradesman, it is really having that sense of purpose and wearing it like a badge of honor, and not being, you know, obviously we make fun of people that have massive egos and really identify. Their identify is so ingrained in their craft that they allow that to dictate their behavior and how they compare themselves to other people. I'm not talking about those kind of people. I'm talking about people that do have a sense of purpose, that are proud to get up and put on the boots and pack a bucket and get out there in the fucking grind and the grit and the shit every day. And being proud and not going, well, fucking kids are never going to do this. Oh, I should have learned how to do that. I should have went to college. It's like, why is that the narrative?
Right.
You know, so that particular conversation really resonated with a lot of people, just as one of our most recent ones was the Daymaker. My fucking Instagram blew up after that, you know, after that conversation.
Yeah.
And
it's weird. It's weird what happens when you just pitch to people, hey, be nice to one another. And they're like, what? We can do that?
Wait, I can dictate the quality of service that I receive by being the best customer.
Yeah.
100%.
Fucking concept, right?
It's fucking bananas.
Yeah.
One of my favorite conversations of last year happened in April when we sat down with Sonny.
Fucking Sonny, man. Dude, we've been having some cool projects for her since.
Have you?
Since then, yeah, we built this big, you know, it was a pain in the ass, but we built they have these special drains that you have to use.
The V-bucket?
No, the V-bucket was the trench bucket. Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
We did build that. So that thing is built to USDA irrigation standards. Like, so they have to take one swipe with that bucket, and that fucking trench is kept perfectly to USDA standards. So she gave us all the dimensions and showed us a couple of examples, and then fucking we built the whole thing out of AR500 because we couldn't get a hold of T1. So, dude, this fucking bucket is not going anywhere. Yeah, that's a lifelong bucket right there. But and then we built some crazy drains for up in it was like a TRPA regulation for these parking lots and whatnot, because drainage up at Tahoe is a motherfucker. But Yeah, dude, I love working with her because she's just like, here's my idea. This is what I need. I can't, I need it. Just build it. I'm like, okay. And
Yeah.
yeah. And she's such a fucking champ with her business, and her crew is just some of the coolest fucking people you'll ever meet. And like, she runs a tight ship, and they all respect her. And, she's figured out how to be a woman in an authoritative position in those trades and still be able to joke around and fuck around with the guys, but still have the utmost respect. So it's like,
I remember sitting at your shop. I was actually Battleborn HQ because I didn't have this place yet. And the emotional roller coaster of the conversation with her,
right?
When she starts talking about the shit that she's got to deal with and how contractors are trying to manipulate her, tabling, sexual, propositions for contracts. Like, so seeing how much of a badass she is, and then hearing her experiences on the other side of that,
right?
That opened up an entire door for you and I for a bunch of conversations. That are still come. A lot of those are still to come this year.
Yeah, because if you know Sunny, she's not gonna bullshit you about that. And to see her, because I hadn't really worked with her that much in the field until after that conversation. And so it's like, some people can come in here and be like, oh yeah, I'm a badass with this, and this. I've seen her operation firsthand. Like, there's no fucking bullshitting her way through that one. So it's like, the proof's in the pudding, and there's. Like, I feel like sometimes, especially as men, like, when we start to hear these stories, we're like, dude, there's no fucking way it went down like that. And it's like, dude, it probably did. Just because you're not a piece of shit doesn't mean piece of shits don't exist, And that's kind of that hard takeaway that we're like, well, I wouldn't do that to anybody. And it's like, well, you're not everybody, bro.
Right.
Because I've had those moments where I'm like, dude, there's no fucking way somebody would do that,
It is amazing what people will try to get away with when they think they won't get caught.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, how are you going to do that to somebody and not expect them to say something?
Right. Oh, they don't expect consequence at all.
Right.
They think they're above reproach. It's like, oh, well, she's not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Or nothing's going to happen. It's like, what the fuck?
No, she's actually going to fuck me for this contract. That'll keep her quiet.
Talk about the arrogance.
Right.
God damn. Oh, man.
Yeah. Every woman's a prostitute, right? Yeah.
God.
Fucking jackasses.
That conversation, I remember vividly when we had it back in April. Like, that was a good turning point for me just in awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
then it launched our whole, we're still not done with it yet, the women in the trades, but it launched that whole series. And that's been so much fucking fun to talk to these girls,
Yeah.
And like, they all have their obstacles to get through. And, not to say that, men don't have their obstacles too, because we're all a bunch of pieces of shit. But I mean, theirs are definitely larger hurdles for most of it. And there was definitely some recurring themes in there. But I think the biggest recurring theme through all that is like them not letting it affect what they do.
They're just fucking hard as nails, man.
Right.
They get up and they're like, whatever.
Yeah. Fuck you piece of shit.
Well, that's the worst compliment you can give a guy is to literally laugh at him.
Right. Yeah.
Like, talk about popping his ego.
Right.
It was those multiple conversations that we have, and you're right, we've got more coming up this year. It was like, and Sunny was really a catalyst for that, and because she was like, hey, I sent. When you posted that, when we're looking for one in the trade, she's like, I send this to every woman I know in the trade.
Right.
So she was a great catalyst for that conversation, which is, one of the many reasons I really appreciated getting to sit down with her. And like you said, the perspective that it gave me and just how I approach conversations.
Right.
Now and how I look at things now. It's not just from my own lens, because I'm like, I would never do that.
Right.
So, but then it's like, well, I would never want to create an opportunity where that would even the thought of someone else believing that's an option, right? I would never want to put myself in a situation where someone would go, well, he's yeah, he's trying to. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah. Right.
Fuck no. That doesn't.
Yeah, but then I mean, it almost makes us fumble, a little bit on it because
Right.
we overcompensate for it.
Exactly.
I mean, when you talk to these girls about it, it's like it happens frequently enough. So you're like, how do I not be a part of that fucking statistic in your life?
Yeah. And I think if Sonny were sitting here, she'd tell us just fucking
treat me like you do the
just
dudes.
just treat me
It's like,
normal.
I am not going to hit you in the nuts, Sonny.
I can't wait to my next conversation with her because she'll probably have heard this, and I always enjoy my conversations with her because she's super fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super fucking brilliant.
Mm.
And so that was just an awesome fucking conversation. One of the things I do want to share that was probably that I think would have been my top positive of the year, like probably my biggest takeaway, my biggest impact of last year was attending the contractor fight. Tom Reber's company. I talked to Tom at the conference. He's going to come back on the podcast this year.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to that conversation.
Well, do me a favor. Will you ask him while you're interviewing to hold the fucking thing on a weekend so that Matt and I can both go?
Right. I'll relay that.
Yeah.
That was, man, when I left that conference, I had not been that enthusiastic in quite some time.
It was like leaving Tony Robbins.
Dude, it was.
Yeah.
It was just the fucking energy and being in a room of 400 contractors that believe what we believe and want to. So the contractor fight, their mission is to bring respect back to the trades. And so when you're in a room full of people that believe that, and not only believe that but act it,
They represent that way.
oh, dude. Yeah. It was definitely like a Superman weekend. And I will tell when I get Tom Reber back on here, I'm going to tell him one of the other reasons an underlying reason that I attended that conference is because I wanted to see if he was the real deal. Because there's a lot of fucking people that do what we do that aren't.
Yeah, they're hacks.
And
or they've never done anything. Like, I mean, so I catch an imposter syndrome every once in a while just because, like, I came on here to put my journey on display. So I'm like, no matter where I'm at, I don't feel like I've done shit. We're mildly successful at this point, mildly. But I'm like, you guys shouldn't do this. You should do this. And it's like, I'm like, oh, well, I literally just did this thing that I fucking told you not to do,
Right.
So that's kind of hard to define what the real deal is, right? That makes it a little.
For me, I wanted to see his integrity, right? And I wanted to see how his team operated, how his team represented him and the brand, the keynote speakers that he had, the stories that they tell, the quality of the people that were attending. And I've attended a lot of conferences. And then getting to just kind of sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with Tom. He introduced me to his wife. And just kind of have a genuine, kind of back and forth. I left that conference fully believing that he is who he says he is, and that he's doing what he says he's doing, and that his team believes him. And that was one of the underlying reasons that I wanted to go, because there are people that I will talk to that his company is a better fit for. I believe that,
Right.
Because he really focuses on numbers. They really on how to sell at a 50% gross profit. They really, really focus on that. That's not where I spend my focus. It's not where I spend my time. So I already know I'm going to have people in the future that I'm going to send that way. I wanted to make sure that if I made a referral, that it was to the right place. And they're on it.
Right.
and he's got a 10-year head start on me.
Yeah.
He started back in 2012. And so he's got almost a 10-year head start on me. And it gives me confidence in seeing what he's been able to build in 10 years. It gives me confidence that I can build it in 5. Because somebody's already been there.
That's the Tony Robbins thing, right? Find somebody that's already done it and study them.
Yeah. So I really appreciated that entire experience that week that I was there, the conference that he's putting on. He's putting on another one that's coming up this year in September. It's in Denver. It's the Mile High Profit Summit.
Hopefully on a fucking weekend.
It won't be.
I know.
It won't be. But, throughout last year, like that was probably my biggest high, of what I got to experience was going there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this year. Again, I'm looking forward to having Tom on the podcast again. And eventually I want to be on his stage and, at that summit one year and be able to add value to him and his people. So that was a huge takeaway for me this year.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. That's, who was it you're talking to that was telling you that, while you're there, they were saying, there is no real like direct leadership.
Several of the attendees, these business owners and stuff are selling at 40 and 50% gross profit. They're learning how to sell. There was a lot of them that surprisingly to me were single owner operator GCs, which done well, done right. And the people I talked to, they take care of their subs.
Right.
They're not hacking them down on price. They're actually increasing their price. That was something that a lot of them had shared with me. They still didn't know how to generate buy-in from their team. They didn't know how to lead. They didn't know how to effectively communicate. And they didn't know how to conflict resolution.
Or even conflict itself, like how many times have you been on a site and there's some foreman or some superintendent that's just terrified of conflict?
Oh, yeah.
And then it just turns into a yelling match once it finally blows up and it's like, okay, this could have been avoided.
A few times.
Yeah. Right. A couple.
A few times. And I've even been involved in a couple of those, the way guys will fucking decide that they want to talk to me. And I'm like, I'm not going to reciprocate with that same level of ignorance at all.
Right.
I'm not going to behave that way. We're going to start over and we're going to have a different conversation if we're going to move forward.
Right.
But people don't know. It takes training. They're not, they don't have that skill set.
That's how I communicated in the pipeline industry. So.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting for me to see because I'm glad that we bring something different to the table. Because worthy rival, right? I do not see Tom and his team as my competitors at all. We're trying to do the same thing.
Right.
We're trying to change the stigma of the trades. His mission is to bring respect back to the trades. Mine is to elevate the trades through leadership and operations. We have the same goal.
Right.
He's not my competition at all. We'll be 10 times stronger working together than me going, fucking, you wouldn't work with them. It's like, what? No. But I'm glad that I specialize in something different, that I bring something different to the table, that it is leadership focused and operation focused, and his is, profit and stuff. They do some leadership stuff. They do team building, but sales, sales and profit. And they do it very well. They do it very, very well. They teach you how to, he calls it tire kickers. He's like, stop wasting time with tire kickers. Pre-qualify these leads, how to ask these questions, how to sell these jobs. And I agree with their tactic. I do. I think they teach you how to ask right questions. They teach you how to engage with the client. They teach you how to expedite that process that ultimately is going to create a better experience for both the client and the contractor.
Right. Fuck. I guess Matt and I have to go. This fucking shit.
I'm trying to think. They've got a couple online groups, which I'm I'm a little jealous of because I wish I had that structure right now.
Mhm.
I will eventually,
Right.
but they've got a couple online groups where the contractor, you get on and you work with other contractors that are doing it. So they're coaches. Right. This is something else that I agree with that I have plans to build is their coaches are clients of the Contractor Fight.
Yeah, because that one you sent me a couple
Mhm.
weeks ago. Yeah, they were all like, yeah, this is what I used to do or still do, and then
Right.
I do sales training for Contractor Fight.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty fucking
Yeah,
cool.
they're real life operators.
Mhm.
Right. They own businesses.
They've been through the shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I do appreciate. But the online coaching is they will put you through role playing
Mhm.
of how to have these conversations, how to navigate these conversations. And when I attended, one of the guys that I kind of befriended while I was there, he's just one of those guys that everybody likes. He's just
Mhm.
joyful and happy. His name is Bubba, and he ended up winning an award. And Tom asked him on stage. He said, "How many role plays have you done?" He said, "I stopped counting at 1,000."
Wow.
And this dude is just a well-oiled machine with the process,
Mhm.
but it's not sleazy. It's not all the bullshit
Right.
that we talk about when it
Yeah.
comes to sales. Like it's very genuine, but they're really good at finding their client, and they're
Mhm.
really good at sifting through the people that aren't. So I fully promote them,
Mhm.
support them. I encourage people to read the book,
Mhm.
Contractor Fight, listen to Tom's podcast. Tom, he puts one out like every fucking day.
Right.
Because the role that he plays in the company now. And if you can make it in the end of September, go to the Mile High Profit Summit.
Mhm.
I'm planning to attend as an attendee again. And I even had a conversation. I'll tell you this: I had a conversation with Tom because a year or two prior, I guess some other business coaches had attended,
Mhm.
and it stirred some shit up.
Oh, really?
Because for whatever reason, I don't know if they were there to cherry pick, if they were there to plagiarize, but it caused some conversation.
Some waves.
Yeah, it did. And when I ran into Tom out at one of the after conference social hours,
Mhm.
I pulled him off to the side and I was like, "Hey, straight up, dude, man to man, I'm not here to steal anything. I'm here to learn from you.
Hmm.
I'm here as an attendee." And I was like, I heard some horror stories from people from the last couple of years, and I was like, straight up, I'm not here to do that.
Mhm.
And he just looked at me and goes, "We're good."
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I needed.
Right.
Right? That's all I needed because I didn't want that reputation, not only with him and his team, but for any of the other contractors there.
Mhm.
And it seemed like I had to have that conversation every time I talked to someone, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a business coach." I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, I don't do what they do.
Right.
I
Right.
offer something different. I support this.
Well, I really like that idea of that episode that you and Jasper were talking about doing, like,
Mhm.
the kind of defining the role of a coach and what that should look like. I'm excited for you guys to do that to kind of clear the air on some of that bullshit.
That's an upcoming conversation. Jasper, who does everything for me behind the scenes,
Mhm.
the RBT training that's coming out, this podcast wouldn't exist without her. Like, she started it
Right.
for us. And she's coached me through several things and helped me with several things. There's a wave of crucifixion, if you will, going on with coaches right now
Mhm.
because these stupid fucking Instagram influencers, social media influencers, they're like, "Oh, I will help you find your center and we'll do this." And it's like $85,000 for 3 sessions.
Jesus fucking Christ. Shut
And-
up.
Yeah. And it's like, "Oh, well, if you can't afford that, then they basically funnel you to somebody else." It's all this inner working,
It's a pyramid scheme.
dude.
Yeah.
And I guess the world that Jasper works in is completely different than mine, but she's been exposed to some of that and is experiencing some of the downfall of seeing that. Now, her and I align on pretty much everything. She doesn't do that shit,
Right.
but she's like, "Dude, there was a fucking wave coming down."
Well,
I'm rather
yeah.
excited for it.
Right. Kind of wash out some of the bullshit, right?
I really hope it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
because you had a bad experience with the coach, didn't you? Or you had caught wind of it where the dude showed up late and berated the fucking server at the restaurant.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. This is secondhand, and I won't give too many details because I don't want anyone to know who's involved. But it was exactly that. This company that one of my clients works with, they hired a coach and have a coach, and he came in and they paid an exorbitant amount of money. And the coach was like, "Hey, I want to go to this restaurant. I want to do this. I want to do that." And it's like, I mean, we're talking like, $200 a head, $250 a plate kind of place.
Right.
And I guess that's exactly what he did. He just fucking just berated the server, ended up asking to speak with the manager, and just had this entire unfolding experience in front of his client. And, as he's telling me this, I'm like, and then he told me, he's like, what he thought this guy was getting paid. I'm like, the fuck am I doing wrong? Like,
because you're not a sleazy douchebag.
I was going to say, I guess I just need to be an abrasive asshole and increase my rates. Like, it was fucking mind blowing. But yeah, people like that, man.
Well, I mean, like you said, the hammer's going to fall on him. Like, I mean, if people are dumping this amount of money into it and there's no result, they're going to fucking bail on him,
Yeah. And I don't know what the conclusion of that has been, because that was several weeks ago, and that was kind of the introduction period. But my thought was, is it like boot camp where they just berate you, tear you down, and then rebuild you?
Yeah.
And
well, you should probably do it to the people that are paying you and not the server.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless, could you have been setting up for some sort of a scenario type thing? Like, do you see how I acted yesterday in the restaurant? This is what you don't do. It's like, we probably don't need to go to that extent, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I would hope that would be something that is a possibility.
Right. Real life role playing, like what would you do kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how that whole experience concludes and what the lessons are. But as I was talking to my client, I said, I told him, I said, now, if you want to pay me more and you want to brag about it, go ahead.
Yeah.
And we laughed. And I said, I understand that all coaches have a different approach. And that's fair. My approach is the 5 C's. Right? That's really a staple in my operation, my fundamental, like it's one of my pillars. I'm going to communicate, connect, create, commit, and consistent. Like that's really the operating recipe for me and how I approach my coaching.
Right.
And he was like, yeah. And I was like, if you want to make an introduction, I'm okay with that too. Right.
Keep it up, bro.
So yeah, it was really fascinating. The conversations I've had with Jasper, the conversations I've had with them, it's like the different approaches that people take. But like you said, I hope there's a wave coming to wash a lot of that shit out.
Right.
Because it's just going to open the doors up for people like myself and Jasper and Tom and the people that I know are doing it morally correct.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, like I said, I'm excited for that conversation.
Yeah, I'll have to get a hold of her and see if we can do that in the next few weeks. We've got a lot of scheduling to do now that the holidays are over. Going to reconnect with the tradeswomen, the trade ladies that that we were talking to up until the holidays.
Yep.
Once Thanksgiving hit, everybody's scheduled with the shit.
Then we'll have Shalais on and Ken.
Yeah.
We'll have them on next week. So that'll be. I'm really excited for that one. I've been wanting to get Ken on here forever. So
right.
having Shalais here, like leading the way, like it's gonna be fucking great.
I will have a notepad in front of me.
Yeah. Right.
That one, I'm not sure. I haven't figured out how we're going to video that one yet because of a 4-person and the way we have the camera. I'm not sure. It may
put
just
them
be
up front, put us over there.
It may be audio only on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm going to mess with setting up the cameras between now and then.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited about it. I mean, the things that I know for me, speaking personally, the things that I got to learn last year is, and I don't want to be like new year, new me, like we were joking when we first started, but the data that I have now is fucking priceless. It's so valuable because now it's like, oh, I'm going to make these decisions because these are the results that I want.
Right.
You know, relationally, physically, mentally, business wise, like, oh, I'm just going to, I know this worked and this didn't work. So let's go ahead and make some decisions like this now.
Right.
So it was, I'm excited. I told you before we started recording, this is the first day I've been back in the office in a week.
Shit.
I don't think I've stepped.
Yeah, because we recorded Tuesday last week.
Yeah.
So,
and I forced myself to detach. So, my clients that I haven't got back to as properly as normal, I'm not going to apologize because I did completely unplug. And then we've had a winter storm.
Oh yeah,
we lost power, lost internet.
Dude, that's the most fucking snow that I've seen in the valley in maybe my whole life. But I guess they call them 30-year storms. But just to have that amount of snow come down in one fucking night, like that's insane around here. I mean, there was, like I said, there was like 3 feet up at the house.
Right. And
then at the shop, there's every bit of 2 feet, you know, if not more. And it's not going anywhere. We're like, and then trying to uncover all of our steel in the fucking yard. And yeah, you're like, what are we going to break while we're trying to uncover all this shit?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start using flags in the winter now.
That's smart.
Not a bad idea, right?
No, that's smart. Okay, were you going to put like a tag on it for whose is what?
Yeah. I think we're going to start making bays in the yard.
Okay.
And then, you know, like, we'll stake them off. And then that way, if we have a project that comes in that has longer beams, we can pull the stakes out and adjust that lot for that.
Yeah.
So maybe we got 3 fucking acres up there that, you know, that's a pretty good storage facility.
Yeah. So, better utilized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know because I was with Matt over New Year's when the storm hit. And his first thing was like, dude, we're not going to be able to find a single thing in the yard.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, of course I wouldn't have thought of it because I don't deal with it. But
because we got a backhoe and a telehandler. The backhoe is part of the property, the telehandler's ours, but you know, the landlord lets us use it. He's like, if you guys want to plow, go for it. And so, but dude, if you're driving that thing around up there, you crash into a piece that you've already built. Like, it's not like, oops, I bumped into that. It's like, oh, we fucked that up.
Like when you drop the beam on the fireplace.
We don't talk about that.
Shit like that happens when it's cold and wet and slippery and just fucking shit bends, breaks, you run into stuff. So this.
Hopefully, it's not people.
Nah, ain't that the truth?
Right.
It was an adventurous weekend for us here because of the storm.
Yeah, I did drive back from San Francisco 7.5 fucking hours.
What's the drive normal?
4 hours.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was like, dude, I hit Jackson on Highway 88 and it was 25 miles an hour the whole way. And Highway 50 had been closed. So all the traffic got pushed over and it's all holiday traffic. So there's a shitload of people. I'm the only dumbass heading east towards the snow. Everybody's trying to get the fuck away from it. And yeah, it was a harrowing drive back over the hill. Real slick.
Oh, man. A
lot of overturned Teslas.
Yeah. What was your, did you have a favorite book or podcast from this year?
I'm trying to think, did I read Goggins this year?
Yeah. Because I did too.
Goggins was really good. And then, fuck, dude, there's been some fucking Joe Rogans that have hit home. That one that I just listened to with, what the fuck's that guy's name?
Shia LaBeouf?
No, the other guy.
John Bernthal?
John Bernthal. Yeah. That dude's fascinating. But John Bernthal's with fucking Shia LaBeouf. Right. Dude, I had to, like I said, I was on my way to go detach and I had to fucking turn it off because it's very intense. Like, you know, and especially just, I guess, the position in life that I'm in, it really made me rethink a lot of shit. And I finished it on my way home. But that one, I mean, I guess maybe that's because it's so fresh, but that one hit home really hard.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's a couple of Ed Milet sprinkled in there that were really good. I stopped listening to Andy Frisella.
I've had several people tell me that same thing.
Yeah, dude, he just like, I can't fucking stand that. Who fucking told you this was gonna? We're like, we fucking know. We were listening, bro. Shut the fuck up. He got like kind of arrogant about the whole thing, and Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's more about politics now than it is about, I don't know, something.
Reading Relentless this year, the Tim Grover book that was a big one for me. And I don't know, like a specific podcast episode, but I will tell you, I discovered
The Tradesman Experience.
winning. Nick Bear. He owns, he's the founder of Bear Performance Nutrition, BPN. So the BPN podcast, I'm going to try to get him on the show this year. Like I think he is like one of the most down to earth dudes that I've ever listened to run a podcast. And he's not worth $500 million like Ed Milet, and it hasn't built an $80 million nutrition company like Andy Frisella. Like he's building. This was his most successful year, but I've really gotten into his podcast the latter part of this year, and I've really enjoyed his thought process and how he articulates himself. Because, like I said, he just sounds like a normal guy. Just talks like a normal guy. So I've really enjoyed getting to listen to his this year. And Mel Robbins started a podcast recently.
Mel Robbins.
Early on in our coaching, I sent you guys a video of her TED Talk, but she talks about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the countdown, the mindset type stuff. She's been on Impact Theory, and which her interview on Impact Theory was something else that I found. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, and fucking phenomenal conversation. But yeah, I felt like I was exposed to a lot of good information this year, but definitely Relentless, I think, is probably my book of the year, because I've referred that book more than any other book that I've read.
I haven't finished it, but Meditations for Marcus Aurelius is fucking... I don't know if I'll ever finish that fucking book, dude. Right. It's like I get one page through it, and I'm just like...
Spend the whole day processing.
Just pondering that fucking shit, you know? And it's like, for him to be, you know, the leader of fucking Rome, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and the man's constantly worried that he's not serving his people.
Right.
Like how many leaders of that magnitude really felt that way, you know?
I have it. It's on my to read list. I want to finish Split the Difference by Chris Voss, retired FBI negotiator. I want to finish that one. And then as soon as I finish that one, I'm going to at least start introducing myself to meditations. I know it's not when you sit down and read cover to cover.
Right. I think it's a good, like, you know, you've been up for an hour and had your coffee. Reader. Yeah. Like you've been up for an hour and had your coffee, like, and then, you know, poke around in there a little bit, you know? And the thing is, like, most of the time I don't even keep a bookmark in there. I just flip around and read just random shit. Cause it's not like a sequential ordered book. It's just these thoughts that he had that he would just jot down. Because he never anticipated it to be published. It was just this. It was almost like a journal, you know.
Gotcha.
And so you can jump to anywhere in there and find something fucking profound. And it's like
maybe I'll take it home for that purpose. I've been bouncing in and out of Dante's Inferno.
Oh yeah,
Dante Alighieri's Journey Through Hell.
Yep. It's a dry read, isn't it?
It's a slow read.
Yeah.
Because my brain doesn't talk like that.
The best part is like the Bible only refers to hell as like this lake of fire. Dante's Inferno was the first like description of hell, and it's this outcasted politician. So of course the lowest ring of hell is reserved for mutineers, you know. So, but that was like that's what our genuine concept of hell is what came out of that book.
It's a fascinating read. And the reason I say it's a slow read is because sometimes I have to read a chapter twice, just because of the way that it's written. It's almost Shakespearean.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to process. But I like challenging myself like that intellectually.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of shit in there I don't understand. Yeah. At least, like I said, when you get through it. And then when you read the synopsis of the chapter, it's in plain English.
Oh,
okay. Like they normalize the chapter so you can read it. So it paints a better picture for me. And then I can reread the chapter and then I understand where I'm at in the journey. So,
So you got to read it fucking 3 times
Yes,
over. Pretty much.
I've read some of the chapters 3 times just to kind of process it.
Mhm.
But the reason that I chose that book was to challenge myself, was to challenge my reading ability,
Right.
and kind of get back to reading instead of fucking scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Do plenty of that.
I come up with my own justification as why I don't post every day. It's unsolicited advice.
Right.
I don't want to give unsolicited advice. That's why I don't post every day. That's what I'm telling myself right now. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the story.
So the days you do post, you are just free balling it with your unsolicited
I'm
advice.
gifting. Yeah, I'm gifting people with information.
You can look her down. I don't fucking care.
Yeah. But no, man, it was today's what? Today's the 4th as you and I are in here. And what a fucking journey.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's
journey
been
was.
like I said, going into this year with a clean slate, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't for a while, like I wasn't excited for what was on the other side, but now I am. And so I'm pumped. I mean, we're in a good place with the business and personal life and friendships and all that shit. So it's like, we're on the upstroke.
Yep. Me too, buddy.
Mhm.
Me too. Anything else to add?
No.
Good
Crush
deal.
it this year,
Hell yeah. You can find Nate on Instagram at NateNewton87. I am on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience. Email is thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. Website's thetradesmanexperience.com. And the YouTube channel is The Tradesman Experience. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Happy New Year. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud to be a tradesman. See you.